This is Pattaya. It might be the party capital of Southeast Asia, a notorious destination for nightlife, red light districts, and all manner of vice. Every year, more than 7 million tourists descend on this city on the eastern shore of the Gulf of Thailand, and waiting for them is a place that has everything, except apparently any decent food. It's crazy right in the heart of Thailand that this is a city said to have no local cuisine, no famous restaurants or legendary street carts. Nothing at all worth the short drive from Bangkok. The Michelin Guide ignores it, Thai food bloggers stay away, and anyone will tell you that it's a culinary black hole. But I don't buy it. Not in a country where there's always a surprise, even where you least expect it. So we're diving in. We've checked into a hotel just 1 block from the infamous walking street, and we're not leaving until we eat everything, meet everyone, explore and engage and get down and dirty to answer the question, can we find truly amazing food in Pattaya? All right, so somehow, in 10 years of making content, Mark Wiens has apparently only done 2 videos in Pattaya. It's a 2-parter. The first one, he doesn't go to any restaurants, but he and his family cook food. And the second video, where was this? The second video, the title is Pattaya Family Vacation Part 2. Back to Bangkok. Now, I'm not trying to build up any artificial drama to make a video. We really do a lot of research before we film anywhere, and the internet, when it comes to the food in Pattaya, really is a grim, dark place. Number 13 best restaurant for having dinner in Pattaya is Benihana. Pattaya is the kind of place where a search for the best local restaurants leads to pages of tourist traps, chains, and fast food joints. There's nothing positive anywhere about the city's cuisine, but there's not really anything negative either. There's just nothing. I cannot believe that we will not be able to find something here, but the internet is a giant black hole, and that even includes reputable sources. There's always a silver lining. There's always something incredible that you find that the locals know about, that when you're actually there on the ground, you find sort of the real thing. We're gonna do our best. We're gonna give it our honest to goodness best shot. And if there is transcendent local food to be found in Pattaya, we're gonna find it. Now, all right, unlike the dearth of information about Pattaya's food scene, there's plenty of resources on the history of the city's red light district. And at least that's helpful to understand why Pattaya has the reputation it has today. In 1959, pretty much right here was where a small house on the beach started renting rooms to American soldiers on leave. Back then, this was just a fishing village, but it did have a nice coastline, and it was right along Sukhumvit, the main road leading southeast from the capital. So over time, 1 guest house became 2, then 5, then a dozen. Anyway, after the Vietnam War started, a lot more American soldiers came to Thailand, as many as 50,000 in 1969. And that was a big deal. That's 50,000 troops on American salaries in a country where the per capita GDP was $23 a year. 50,000 men in their 20s who had money to burn and were stationed nearby, and as it turned out, wanted nothing more between combat missions in Vietnam than to party and let loose. And the locals here were more than happy to oblige. In the earliest days of the go-go bars and nightclubs here, Walking Street was known as the Strip, and in no time its fame would spread. By 1967, Pattaya had become so notorious that the US military organized a daily shuttle from Saigon to the closest airfield here, dropping off troops for R&R or bringing them back to their units. Hotels opened, restaurants opened, bus companies started regular service, and young women from the villages came in droves, looking for an American husband, or at worst, an income. The entire city as it stands today was built around the singular industry of servicing foreign guests. And from a food perspective, whatever might have been the local cuisine long ago gave way to the stuff that tourists wanted. Mild curries and mild somtam and the occasional full English breakfast. We might not have had much luck researching what the food here was like before the tourists arrived, but finding a clue might be easier than we expected. Because as it happens, when those very first American soldiers started coming here, they favored a restaurant called Nang Noal, known as perhaps the first place in town to find a way to appeal to the foreign palate. And incredibly, that place is still open today, right in the middle of Walking Street, where it's served customers for 58 years.
มันร้านที่เก่าแก่มากแต่ตอนนี้ทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างมันเปลี่ยนโฉมใหม่ไปหมดแล้วเมื่อก่อนแถวนี้ยังไม่ค่อยมีร้านอาหารยังไม่ค่อยมีบาร์เบียร์เท่าไหร่แล้วก็โรงแรมอะไรต่างๆไม่เคยมีแล้วเมื่อก่อนจะเป็นวิวทะเลที่สวยงามแต่ตอนนี้ก็สวยงามครับผมอันนี้จะเป็นร็อกเตอร์ทูมิโดเป็นซิกเนเจอร์ของทางร้านเลยฮะที่ใครมาทานไม่ว่าจะเป็นยุโรปหรือคนไทยหรือประเทศไหนก็แล้วแต่ต้องสั่งตัวนี้เพราะอร่อยมากเลยอันดับที่2จะเป็นห่อหมกอาหารไทยกินได้ทุกชาติเลยครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นยุโรปอันนี้จะรสชาติไม่เผ็ดมากอร่อยเป็นอาหารโบราณของประเทศไทยเลยครับตัวนี้แล้วก็ตัวนี้จะเป็นปูแกงปูใบชะพูอันนี้จะอร่อยมากรสชาติเป็นไทยนิดหน่อยเผ็ดยุโรปทานได้ฮะอร่อยทานกับข้าวสวยร้อนๆสุดยอดนี่จะเป็นอาหารพื้นบ้านของคนไทยน้ำพริกกะปิเผ็ดจัดจ้านรสชาติอร่อยมีผักแก้มด้วย ทานกับน้ำพริกและใบชะอมทอดสุดยอดอันนี้จะเป็นข้าวผัดปูอร่อยมากครับทานได้ทุกประเทศทานได้ทุกคนอร่อยจริงๆครับผม enjoy
This restaurant has one big advantage in whatever our analysis is going to be, which is that we are starving. It's like 3 p.m. and it's the first thing I've eaten all day, so it's going to be delicious no matter what.
It's good.
Yeah. Let's see.
And then the hormok?
Hormok is good. It's actually really good. The hormok for me is a huge win. I mean, that's outstanding. Curry's nice, namprik kapi is good. View's cool. All right, I can see why this place would last for 58 years. Mm-hmm. Right. Benihana, the 13th best restaurant in Pattaya. The official population of Pattaya is about 100,000, but unofficially just the foreigners here make up more than twice that number. There's been an overseas presence full-time here since before the Vietnam War, but when the city first exploded was after 2006, when Thailand opened a new airport. Suvarnabhumi was built on a site between Bangkok and Pattaya, right at the junction of an expressway linking the capital with the playground. At present, Suvarnabhumi is the 17th busiest airport on Earth, hosting direct flights from all over, and it was at one point the most common site in existence for Instagram photos. Welcome to Thailand. Among the tens of thousands who came from overseas and made the city home are clusters from pretty much everywhere. There are retirees from the US and Europe, traders and merchants from India and Africa, beach bums from Australia, and golfers from China and Japan. But when you talk about the foreign community in Pattaya today, there's one country that's the most prominent. It's said to be responsible for as much as a quarter of the population of the entire city. And if we want to understand Pattaya's food scene, well, we would have to open some vodka and head for the Russian district.
This is one of the areas, and maybe the most famous area, to go for Russian food, because I did a little research. I asked my former classmates, my friends who moved here after the war, and they all said that okay, if we want a little bit of some Russian food, we would go here. There are several clusters on Earth where Russians decided to just, we're gonna take some part of it. And Pattaya, and especially Jomtien area, is one of those. You see it in Sri Lanka, in Vietnam, in Thailand. There is one place in Miami, I've been told, in Florida, and New York, of course, Brighton Beach. And that's it. It's so weird. It's honestly so weird.
In 1863, two Russian ships docked in port in Bangkok, and it wouldn't take long before a close relationship would form between noblemen of the two countries. Most significantly, a deep friendship between Rama V and Nicholas II. In the years of Rama V's reign, Russia was one of the only world powers that played no part in the rush to colonize Southeast Asia. And so the Siamese king forged close ties with the Russian Tsar. The Thai military's ceremonial uniforms were designed to look like those of the Tsar's palace guards. The old national anthem, now the Thai royal anthem, was written by a Russian composer, Pyotr Shurovsky. And the red, white, and blue of the Thai flag is said to have been inspired by that of Russia, with red representing the people, white for religion, and blue for monarchy. The relationship between the two countries would fall apart after the Russian Revolution and wouldn't fully recover until the fall of the Soviets. But in the 1990s, when Russians, many of whom had never seen the ocean, could once again access the outside world, one of the first popular destinations would be Thailand, and no beach was more accessible than Pattaya. The first charter flight from Russia arrived at Pattaya's Utapao airport just weeks after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and a community would grow quickly. And by the time of the 2014 census, that included 60,000 Russian nationals, 8 Orthodox churches, and more than 40 Russian restaurants. And it's not just Russian food that would take hold in Pattaya. There are other restaurants from post-Soviet countries, most of it the only versions found anywhere in Thailand. There's Ukrainian, Armenian, Georgian, and something I've never tried before in my life, one of the most influential and historic cuisines on Earth, the food of Uzbekistan. So this is one of the first times ever that we have not waited for all the food to come out before we start talking and eating, because you've been waiting for this for 2 years since we moved to Bangkok.
For almost 2 years.
And before that, there's nothing in Shenzhen, nothing in Hong Kong. When was the last time you had?
The last time I had Uzbek meal, we are in an Uzbek restaurant, by the way, was in 2014. So it was almost 9 years ago.
Before you tell me what we have on the table, I want to try and describe the smells to you, because this is one of those places where it's
dill.
It's dill. Yeah, it's dill. It's dill. It's meat. It's dill and meat.
In mayonnaise.
Okay.
So we've got two salads. One is a Tashkent salad. So it's a veal salad with egg, cucumbers, mayonnaise.
Crab stick or carrots?
I think it's carrots. Yeah. Then we have just a regular vegetable salad, cucumbers and tomatoes. This is one of the stars of this restaurant. They said that it's one of their best sellers. It's called manti. It's a kind of a dumpling, a steamed dumpling with different fillings. There is pulled veal served with sour cream. So this one is a mix of different meats served with onions and dill and with fried potatoes. Right. And this is pilaf.
Now, one interesting note about Uzbek food is that this isn't the first time it's come up on OTR. In one of our first videos ever on the Mughal Empire, we look at biryani and how it spread across the world. And it's quite possible that the point of origin was actually Uzbekistan, where the first Mughal emperor and his army came from. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but it's pretty wild after doing a video on a Thai dish that came from India by way of Persia and Uzbekistan, to be sitting in Thailand having a plate of the old school version. It's unbelievable how good it is. By the time we finished our dinner, the sun had long since gone down, and Pattaya is a city known for nightlife. So since this was our first time here, we'd need a guide. And right here in the middle of the Russian Quarter, we'd arranged a late-night catch-up with the owner of a cooking school, an immigrant from Khabarovsk, Daria's hometown in Russia. But this isn't a Russian cooking school. See, Oleg happens to be a renowned Thai chef, famous both locally and in Russia as an ambassador of Thai cuisine. And here on this street, he operates the world's only Russian-language Thai cooking school.
I understand that I have an aim in my life. I show in Russian through the language barrier, the real Thai food. Sounds good. I was growing in Bangkok from the small kid to a very handsome man. And all girls and women who cook in Thai street food, they were familiar with me. That's why when I'm asking them could you please teach me how to make some pad thai or khao pad thai? No problem, you can try. And one by one, side by side, I've learned like 20 or 30 first dishes.
While Oleg's restaurants are meant for business, the cooking school has a second purpose, which is to slowly take the mystery out of Thai food for the many Russians who find themselves in Pattaya.
So you have 2 weeks here, 2 weeks in paradise.
Yep.
And when you come back to Novosibirsk, for example, like a snowy wind everywhere, -30, and you can prepare the tom yum for you and your friends, and you're not eating the food, you're eating the emotions, you know? And I thought that this kind of experience would be very good for the people. And you know, here I'm just really give them the start.
Yeah.
So they can cut a potato and put it to the tom kha gai. Not a big deal. It's there. They want to make it. Why not? And maybe a few years later in some restaurant, very high so, very expensive, maybe in Moscow. Oh, you know, this is tom kha gai with some kind of potato. Why not?
As a longtime resident with a family here in Pattaya, just like a lot of locals, a night out for Oleg didn't mean walking street. Instead, it meant exactly what it means pretty much everywhere else in the country, a hunt for street food and some ice-cold beer. Now, we had an early morning plan for filming, and we didn't want to let things spiral too badly, but I mean, this is Pattaya. So there have been mornings that I have had where I have felt better than I do today. If you watched our Hangover Cures video a long time ago, what we were told was that the very best thing that you can have the morning after a night in a city like Pattaya is something spicy and sour, especially a soup. And thankfully, our good friend Gary Butler, the Roman cook, pointed us out to what he considers one of the best tom yum soup he has ever had in his entire life, and it's right here in downtown Pattaya. So we have our fried stuff, we have their signature, which is the pork blood soup. That's what they're known for. However, Gary told us as his insider tip that it's really all about the tom yum. And I am done talking, I'm gonna give it a try. Oh my gosh. You know how long it's been since I've been surprised by tom yum? That's incredible. There's exactly what you'd imagine when you think of tom yum soup. We have lemongrass, we have mushrooms, we have silken tofu, we have clearly a seafood-based broth. I guess cooked with shrimp heads. This is phenomenal. This is like a 10 out of 10. Even avoiding the most intense parts of Pattaya, we hit it pretty hard last night. We were in the back of a pickup truck with some random Russian guy. Yeah. And it's early in the morning, it's about 8 o'clock. And somehow, I feel like I'm reborn. This is Matthew Kelly, and he's best known for 50 years with the rock band Kingfish, tours with blues legends like John Lee Hooker, and most of all, for a long association with a band called the Grateful Dead.
I've been so blessed. I played with just about all my heroes over the years, people like B.B. King, Albert Collins, Sunnyland Slim, all these great old blues players. If I could play with anybody on the planet, I would like to play with James Taylor.
James Taylor, if you're a big fan of Thai food and you're watching this channel, there you go, you've heard it. Along with longtime collaborators like Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead and Donald Fagen of Steely Dan, in 1998, Matthew and his wife Mary formed an organization called Amicus, with the idea of providing support to worthy causes in the developing world. They financed programs in Bhutan and Southeast Asia, but it was a chance encounter in 2006 that turned their focus primarily to Thailand.
I met this gentleman who was an American businessman, and I was new to Thailand, and he said, look, we were in Bangkok, and he said, you need to experience the real Thai culture. So we hopped in his car, we drove up to Isan and all around Isan, and it was a real eye-opener for me. I could see the need for any philanthropic enterprise.
Matthew and Mary would relocate to Thailand full-time with breaks for occasional concert tours. And here they'd find their mission, funding an organization called Children of the Forest, which provides health care and education to so-called stateless children, Mon and Karen, who fled across the border away from the violence in Myanmar.
It's wonderful. It's a beautiful area, and the children feel so grateful to be able to go to school, even though many of the children are older when they start school, but it's one of their only chances to go to school because they're not recognized as Thai citizens.
One of the reasons that Matthew and Mary suggested we meet for brunch was to show on camera that there is more to Pattaya than most people think. The restaurant where they suggested we meet is a place called Cabbages Condoms, a non-profit resort and working farm meant to support agriculture and AIDS prevention. And this location, there are several around the world, was actually built on the property of the founder himself, a man named Michai Veeravidaya. Now, I'll make this short, but pretty much when Michai was an economist for the government in 1966, he realized that the country's birth rates were skyrocketing and pretty soon Thailand would collapse into poverty. So, like a kind of P.T. Barnum, he started touring the country from village to village, singing and telling jokes and even blowing condoms into balloons, anything to promote birth control. And it worked. Thailand's growth rate fell from 3% to 0.6. He did it again in the 1980s in response to the AIDS epidemic, and his work is credited by the WHO for saving as many as 8 million lives in Thailand in a span of just 20 years. Now, Michai would go on to serve as a senator and a top government minister. He'd found one of the most effective NGOs in Southeast Asia history, and he'd do much of it from a city known to the outside as a place of vice.
His mother was Scottish, his father was Thai, and he wears a kilt once in a while. He's a very dynamic man, and he's a very controversial man because he's not afraid. You saw the signs coming in. He's got a sense of humor, but he says it like it is. And I have a lot of respect for this guy.
It was Michai who drew philanthropists from across the world to Thailand, and many of them formed a cluster right here in Pattaya, where they meet from time to time at Michai's restaurant. It's a community that's made a remarkable difference, just not for the reputation of the city.
There's some truly wonderful people here. It's not all about booze and sex. Although, when I go back to the States and stuff, and people say, well, where are you living in Thailand? Sometimes I'm a little bit shy about saying Pattaya because everyone believes it's like Sodom and Gomorrah. And so a lot of times I might, depending upon who I'm talking to, I might use another name.
By now, we'd been in Pattaya for a little bit less than 24 hours. And while we'd done our best to roll tape and show you as much as we could from our time in the city, there are always going to be some things that just don't translate well to video. Sometimes it's as simple as how something smells or the scale of what a place really looks like, but here in Pattaya, it was more like a feeling. It's hard to describe, but I'd call it somewhere between pride and frustration. Not to mention a serious gratitude that us out-of-towners would bother coming here to film a story that's not about partying on the beach or how much to pay for a short time. Now, I come from Charlottesville, Virginia, and for most of my 13 years in Asia, when I'd tell people where I was from, their only reference point was the John Denver song, which isn't even about the right state. Anyway, in 2017, my hometown was the site of a white supremacist riot, and it made international headlines, and all of a sudden, everyone knew about Charlottesville. Now, most people wouldn't actually say anything, but I could see the looks. You can always see the looks. That fleeting tell giving away what people I'd meet would assume about me based on what they knew about where I came from. It occurred to me as I wandered around the working class part of Pattaya that I'd probably given the same look to people I'd met who lived here. Oh, that's where you live. All right. And it hit me how much anyone living here must be aware all the time of how their city is perceived. They know how the rest of the world looks at them, and in the restaurant business, they're not blind to the fact that this is the only place in Thailand where everyone thinks the food sucks. The big Thai city where the 13th best restaurant is a Benihana. But instead of resentment, what we found was a city desperate for its story to be told. Everywhere we filmed, the first question the owner or staff asked was, "What do you need and how can we help?" In every taxi or rideshare, everyone offered their advice on where we should go to find food or what we should eat, or how they think we should tell their city's story. Now, I'm not trying to whitewash the bad stuff. There are things about Pattaya that are pretty gross, and the downtown's quite seedy, and the ocean here is famously polluted, and a lot of tourists and expats do come here for reasons that fit the stereotype. But when so many local people tell us that there's incredible food to be found, well, at some point we had to pay attention. And thank goodness for that, because in the northeast of Pattaya, on a rural road about 15 minutes from the bars and nightclubs, well, we found what we came here for. A reason this city deserves a food trip all its own.
ผมมาอยู่นี่ก่อนมาอยู่ก่อนแล้วแม่มาจากพิษณุโลกผมก็เลยเอาแม่มาอยู่บ้านด้วยกันอันนี้แกว่างๆเหงาไม่มีทำก็เลยคิดสูตรอาหารมาทำเพราะแม่เมื่อก่อนแม่เป็นคนหาบขายใช้หาบขายเดินขายตามบ้านคนบ้านนอกเขามีความฝันจะมีร้านที่แรกเราก็ทำกันเล่นๆแค่ร้านเล็กๆเราก็ไม่คิดว่าเราจะโตได้ขนาดนี้ อันนี้คือเส้นนี้เราทำเองเราไม่ซื้อใครเราทำเราเองด้วยคือเส้นสดนะฮะก็พิถีพิถันเรื่องตัวแป้งแล้วก็ด้วยอุณหภูมิของน้ำด้วยทุกอย่างที่เราคิดกันมาที่แม่เขาทำมาไว้แล้วเราก็ทำตามสูตรของแม่ผมอันนี้เป็นข้าวผัดดอกเกลือรวมปูคือมีปูมีไข่ปูข้าวผัดเราก็เอาไปใส่เกลือลงไปแล้วใส่เนยใส่เพื่อให้รสชาติกลมกล่อมครับอันนี้คือน้ำยากะทิขาไก่กะทิลูกชิ้นธรรมดานี่คือน้ำยาป่านี่คือพริกถั่วโบราณจากพิษณุโลกอย่างเงี้ยนี่น้ำยาปากใต้อันนี้คือร้านของคุณแม่ผมคุณย่าแต่ก็ท่านเสียไปแล้วนะคือทำตามเจตนาของแม่ผมนะก็เขาอยากมีร้านเราก็ทำให้เขาเพื่อเป็นตำนานในพัทยาแต่เราก็ถือว่าสำเร็จนะทำตามสูตรอาหารทุกอย่างคือของแม่ผมหมดแล้วเรามาอัดแอปเอาเพื่อมันกลมกล่อมกับรสชาติคนเด็กสมัยใหม่คนรุ่นใหม่แต่โดยพื้นฐานอาหารคือแม่ผมทำมาจากเขาทำมานานแล้วตั้งแต่หาบขายเล่ขายตั้งแต่เป็นชาวบ้านธรรมดาแล้วเรามาอัดแอปเรื่องรสชาติอีกหน่อยนึงแล้วก็ของทะเลเพิ่มมาเพราะเราอยู่ทะเลใช่ไหมครับผม
What a super cool spot, yeah? Like, just watching them making the Condomjin fresh while they're cooking. It's a well set up restaurant that really makes you feel like you're having an experience. You're on holiday. This is that's incredibly good. Every city we have this Condomjin namprik, the peanut Condomjin topping. It's different everywhere. Here it's like a coating of a candied apple. It's like fruity, sweet, still enough savory to add a squeeze of lime for a little acidity. You can see the lime in there. This is sensational. Oh, it's really good. I don't know how many different ways I can say that this is unbelievably good. I'm interested in when you were researching Pattaya, what did you find on as a Thai person, what does the Thai internet say about the food scene in Pattaya? Is it any more than the foreign internet said about this?
I have seen two prevailing voices. One is that you want to come to Pattaya for like the fantasy of eating seafood by the beach, right? That's all you want to do. You don't care how good it is. That's all you want. Seafood by the beach. Number two, the second prevailing voice is that Pattaya is full of sin and debauchery. There is nothing there. It is a desolate place. Do not go there. Yeah, I think most of it in Pattaya City, right? It's big food mountain by the ocean. You know what I mean? Like big seafood. There's tons of stuff. Like you get like cheese and lobsters and stuff like that. You know. But then when the food vloggers go for good food in Pattaya, they go outside to Chonburi, and that's where all the good stuff is. That's where they go.
Has Pattaya exceeded your expectations from a food perspective?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I'd rather eat kebabs or something, you know, which I would be happy with, but we found so much more.
It takes less than 2 hours to drive from Bangkok to Pattaya. 130 kilometers, give or take, from Soy Cowboy to Walking Street. And yet, as close as it is, to most people in the capital, this is a dirty and avoidable place, devoid of any real culture and certainly not a destination for food. I mean, honestly, that was my impression until we came here. I literally thought right until we had that first bite of hormok that this video would probably end up being something like a joke. I mean, I really didn't think we could pull it off. But in the end, we leave Pattaya exactly as we left every other OTR road trip. Stuffed and satisfied and with the memory and hours of footage of some absolutely phenomenal food. But maybe that's the wrong way to say it. I mean, this wasn't like every other OTR road trip. This is something different. I mean, this is Pattaya.
ไม่ใช่เป็นแบบนั้นพัทยาเป็นเมืองท่องเที่ยวที่น่าเที่ยวมากเลยผู้คนสนใจอยากจะมาเที่ยวบางสิ่งบางอย่างก็ดีไม่ว่าจะเป็นวิวหรือว่าร้านอาหารอะไรอร่อยเยอะแยะไม่จำเป็นที่จะต้องมาดื่มมาเที่ยวตามขับตามบาร์เสมอไป
This town is going through some major changes. The government is trying to change the image. So Walking Street, they're tearing down a lot of the clubs and putting up nice hotels and they're trying to make it family friendly.
ครอบครัวผมไม่ค่อยได้ดื่มไม่ใช่คนดื่มเหล้าเท่าไหร่แล้วก็คืออย่างเราเป็นสร้างอาชีพให้ต่อไปฮะแค่สร้างอาชีพให้คือมีงานทำอ่ะ
If we set out to answer the question, does this city have a soul? Yeah, it has a soul. There's something here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Subscribe to the channel for more from OTR. Thank you so much to everybody who supports us on Patreon. It's a massive help to keep us going. You can find the links below to our social media and website, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
On how to commence and so on and so forth. And
This is, by the way, it's a lesson learned. We will know in the future we never do an interview lying down. Both of us are trying to figure out the right way to sit. How do we?
These chairs
This is not a perfect interview chair, but it's fine. We've already committed to it. Let's stick with it.